Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We're back with the free bite-sized masterclass series for people who manage people and teams. So this is actually day 2 of week 2 on the 2nd of December. So here's what's going to happen, and here's what we talked about so far. So last week we talked about preparation, how we can prepare for high performance. This week we're actually talking about the performance beat. And then next week we're going to talk about how we can recover. So if you want all of these resources, all of the session replays, the handouts, the links and resources, just click on the link that's available in the description of this video and you will be getting all of them, all of the replays, all of the recordings and everything. So what we will be doing today is we are going to talk about managing your team. And this is actually one of my favorite topics, and because I do help teams work great together. That's what I'm doing, helping organizations and small businesses and startups build game-changing teams. So awesome topic, and I know that I was getting a lot of questions from leaders, from dream leaders that I have worked with, that I have pleasure of working with. And these are some top questions from them. And what I would like to ask those of you who are joining live, or whenever it is that you're joining, if you have a question, just drop it in here and I will try to answer it, because really this is what we're doing this for. It's your masterclass series for people who manage people in teams. So here are some of the questions that I got, and some of them I know you will resonate with. So first question was, how do we build our team for the long run while the world around us changes by the minute? Now, I know, right? Because how can you build something for the long term if everything is changing around you? And we're going to talk about that. And what we will do is get you some tools that you can use at the end of the session to become a better manager, better leader, and lead your team better and understand your team better. How do we support, motivate, and help each other grow so that the business grows? Because, and that's another thing that I love saying is, you know what? People challenges are business challenges. So I think we can fairly say, if your people don't grow, then the organization doesn't grow, the business doesn't grow. So that is another question that came along from the leaders that I work with. How do we scale our team and bring the right people who are aligned with the culture, values, goals, and existing team to grow the business through uncertainty? And that's another big one, because, hey, we all know the costs of not bringing the right fit in our team, in our organization. So people who don't match the cultures, the values, and the goals and other team members. And we also know the costs of people leaving the team. So basically people who are good for our team and they choose to leave at some point. And how they leave, that's another discussion. That's an important discussion to have. How you part ways with team members, and especially with people who were good for the team, who are good for the organization. So we all know the cost of a bad hire. We all know the cost of a bad leave. And I'm not referring just to the financial cost. I am also referring to psychological cost. The psychological cost for the team, for the current team members, or for the team members in the case of a bad leave, the team members who stay on your team, and also the psychological cost to you as the leader. That's huge. And we all know that, especially when you want to, I think nobody really wakes up in the morning and says, how about today I'm not going to be a great leader? How about today I'm going to be a bad manager? I don't think we wake up in the morning thinking that. We want to have a good day. We want to be the good manager. We want to be the good leader. Actually, that's where it all started, right? It all started with us having a dream, creating a dream career, a dream job, a dream business, a dream team. It was all fitting in very nicely together. And then what happened? We risk that the dream becomes a nightmare, and we don't want that. Another question is, how do we bring in more diversity and creativity to build innovative solutions for our customers and grow the business? And I think, again, that's important, especially in an environment that's changing all the time, because really what we want to do is, yes, we still want to serve our clients, we want to serve our customers, but the creativity thing, and that's not necessarily related to artistic capabilities, but it's how can we be creative about the solutions that we're finding for our clients, because the reality around us changed. That's the big question. And I think with all of these questions, and again, if you do have any questions that you want to add on top of these, absolutely put them in. I'm watching the chat and everything. So just know your question will eventually reach me and I will be able to answer it. So what we are actually looking at, and that's an important ground setting that we need to do here. When we talk about people decisions for your team, for your business, for your organization, what we're actually talking about, and let me take the caption off because you don't see the whole thing. We're talking about all of these 5 stages. So we are looking at making people decisions from the pre-hiring phase, right? So thinking about what we would want somebody who joins our team to bring, all the way to firing, or as I like to call it, parting ways, because, you know, people move. There's this dynamic. People grow, people develop, people move depending on how they evolve. So we kind of can expect that. And that's fine as long as you know how to part ways productively for the both of you. So when we talk about pre-hiring, we talk about what we would like them to bring. And then hiring, it's very clear to us and to them what we want them to do. So for you as the team manager or the team leader who has a say in who is it that you want to be joining your team, that's what you need to be crystal clear about. What you want them to do, because the how, that's what they're bringing with them. How they're going to do it is going to depend on them, and that's where you need to make sure that they align with your vision, your values, your culture, the business goals, and with other team members. Why I'm saying that is because when we look at culture and when we define culture, we're actually talking about how we do things around here that make us feel successful, that makes us all feel fulfilled and moving towards a business goal. So actually what needs to happen here is you need to be crystal clear on what you want from them and what your vision, values, culture, business goals are, so that it's also clear to them and to you that how they're going to do that is going to be a great fit for how you want them to do that. Then when we're looking at promoting and moving people, it is based on what we have done to develop them. And the development bit, so number 3 in here, is super important. And that includes you who are entrepreneurs or solopreneurs, because basically you're your own team to manage. So how you develop, how you grow in your multiple roles, that's going to affect the business. That's going to affect the business growth. The same goes for you who are managing teams, because the growth, how individual members of your team grow in your team, in your organization, that is going to have a direct impact on how your business grows and on how your organization grows. So, how we help them grow, that's a crucial question. And think about you now. What do you do to help your own people grow? And what do you do to help yourself grow? And then we can look at promoting them and or moving them laterally, depending on what they can do next best. Because when we talk about promotions, and I know we've all seen it, I've seen it so many times, people who were promoted and were not ready to be promoted. They were promoted based on the level of their technical skills, their technical knowledge, or seniority or years of experience. They were not necessarily being promoted on their level of readiness. And that's where the return on investment, and not just investment, return on expectation, is zero or less. Because when you promote somebody who's not ready, that was, by the way, my chair creaking. When you promote somebody who's not ready to be promoted, that is when, again, you get to another level of how that's going to affect your business. So the development bit is essential for them to be ready to be promoted. And then firing is, or parting ways, is where we don't align anymore. And it can be, again, think of you, what your culture is, what your background is, what you're bringing with you. The same goes for your team members, because everyone has their little baggage. We all carry our baggage around with us pretty much everywhere we go. And that, in our baggage, we have our own vision, our own values, our own culture, our own goals, all of the belief systems, all of our experience, everything that, all of our knowledge, right? We carry that everywhere we go. So that goes for yourself and that goes for your team as well. This is why knowing these 5 stages, making people decisions, and how you can make people decisions, it's as simple as that. Be clear on what you want from them and be clear what you want for yourself, for your team, for your organization. Because, and now we're moving on to the next one, which is also important. We talked about culture and values and baggage and everything that we bring with us. Well, that also goes for bias, because we all are biased, more or less, one way or another, consciously, subconsciously, it really doesn't matter. We all bring our own unconscious bias with us. That's part of the baggage that we were talking about earlier, right? We have it. And that is, look at what's possible here. I mean, there's all sorts of types of biases, and I didn't even put them all in here. But and then we make assumptions based on these biases. So again, when you think about your team, about how you make your people decisions, just know that one way or another, you are going to be affected by your own unconscious biases. So that stands for self-awareness. We talked about self-awareness in week 1 when we talked about emotional intelligence. So take your resources from week 1 and get to to day 1. Actually, we talked about emotional intelligence and self-awareness. If you want, I'm not going to dive into the whole unconscious bias conversation here, but what I really wanted to share with you is this: we are all biased one way or another. Um, and based on these biases, we make our own assumptions. This is what basically, initially, this is what our assumptions are based on. So if you want to know how you're biased, what your level of bias is, you have some free resources here, and I will, again, they will be there in the on the link in the description of this video with all of the resources for all of the days. So go do the implicit association test at Harvard University. You have all sorts of tests that reveal all sorts of different biases, and they may reveal, and they also reveal the level of the bias. So what you may find out is that you're potentially unbiased in one area, more biased in another. But the more we are aware of these biases and what they do to our decision-making process, the better we are, because we understand how we work, and then we understand how others might be thinking based on their own biases. And for your team as well, if you want to share these resources, then absolutely you're welcome to. Google Rework, on their Rework site, they have also some resources in their unbiasing section, so you might want to check on those. All right, so we talked about the people, the process, all of the stages. What can we do to build, engage, and motivate our dream team? And really, here, it's not about what can we do, but what to engage and motivate them. It's what can we do to help them feel engaged and motivated. Because really, we can only motivate somebody externally until one point, up to one point, right? After that, it all comes down to what motivates them, what engages them. So it all comes down to intrinsic motivation. This is why I think that in the long run, we're talking about the power of team leadership. Because, and here's the thing, and I want to stress this out. When we talk about leadership, what used to happen so far is that typically leaders or team leaders, team managers, or organization leaders, they felt super isolated in that leadership tower where they were feeling, this, and that made them feel a bit disconnected too from the rest of the world. What we're talking about here is team leadership. So it's about who takes the helm depending on what they can do in one situation or another, depending on what they are experts in. Because really, we hire people based on what we want them to do and what they're experts in and how well they fit with our values and our organization. And then what? And then we kind of expect them to just take instructions, and then that's it. And you have these hierarchies where you have people who are called head of. I used to be a head of learning and development, and I was wondering what that means, because if I was the head, that meant, think about it, if somebody is the head, that means that the rest of the team is just the body, the legs, the arms, the hands, whatever that is. And it's not that. We're talking about people who can think for themselves and who are good at what they do and can contribute best. That's what we're talking about here. Because if we are going to talk about the new future of work, which we, by the way, are building right now, we need to start doing things differently. Because with the new future of work, what we want to do is we want to get different results. And this is what we also started to create. Why we needed to create a new future of work. This is why a lot of organizations were not happy. They were simply not happy. A lot of people, a lot of teams, a lot of leaders were not happy because they weren't ready. Because they weren't ready to grow. They weren't ready to do things differently. So we need to change the way we do things if we want different results. We all know that. And here's what it comes down to: different kinds of working, different styles of working, looking at how we are different, not just the fact that we are different, but how we are different and how that's good and how we can use that so we can grow the business, we can grow the team, we can grow ourselves as professionals, as individuals, because that brings the intrinsic motivation that I'm talking about. And here's a study that WeWork has done on work from home impact. And 90% of the group of people that they interviewed said that they wanted to return to the office at least one day per week. At least one day. Now, 20% out of that group said that they wanted to return 5 days a week. Now, what this means to us is that, well, we already know we all have different types and styles of working. But what that tells me is that as a team, as an organization, as a team leader, I need to start being flexible enough so that I can accommodate all of these working styles, right? Think about it as we all have different food tastes. We all dress differently. We all like different kinds of music, different kinds of movies, different kinds of everything, right? And that is good. Why can't we think about the different styles in which we work as something good? And how we can accommodate all of these different styles, because that's how we all grow together, because they benefit everybody. The same study said, and that's important to you as a leader, as a business, as an organization, that long-term business success relies on creativity and innovation that come from productive collaboration. Now, what this means to you as a team leader, as a team manager, is also that you need to create the environment, which means you need to create the culture where people feel safe and encouraged and motivated to contribute their best ideas, to contribute to the best of their abilities, so that you can create the future of your organization, the future of your business. That's where creativity and innovation are important. They're not important just for the sake of us being creative, but they're important because they help us find new solutions that work with the new kind of environment that we operate in. And that demands a lot of flexibility. But in an environment where people feel encouraged to collaborate and to contribute, then you won't be getting creativity and innovation because they won't feel safe to contribute. If people have to ask themselves, am I going to be judged? Is it safe for me to ask this question? Is it safe for me to challenge this discussion? Is this safe for me to come up with this idea now? If they have to question that first, then you have a problem as a business that you might not feel now, but you might feel the results of later. Because at some point, things won't fall into place anymore. Or you risk that your competition thinks about something that you might have had earlier on. It's just that somebody on the team wasn't feeling safe enough for them to contribute. So that's going to be important. And then companies need to rethink in-person interactions to prioritize health and to allow for culture building. And by the way, when we talk about health, we talk about mental health, physical health as well. And when we talk about culture building, we talk about people, because people build the culture. It's not the other way around. It's how we do things around here that make us feel successful. So when we look at that, let's see what we can do to improve team communication, because really I want to focus on the two aspects: team communication and team resourcing. That's golden when we talk about all of those 5 stages that we started with from the beginning. So for team communication, I love this quote: in teamwork, silence isn't golden, it's deadly. Because really, if you can't communicate, again, if people don't feel safe, they don't communicate. So silence is a sign for you as a manager, as a leader, that something is off. Um, and I'm not talking just about, when people need to focus on a project or another. It's just constant, regular silence in the organization, in the team, even if it's just virtual. So when we talk about communication, first of all, we talk about you need to include some elements of fun, because, hey, Mary Poppins said it. I didn't say it, but it's true. Think about all of those all of those times that you remember working at your best with your team, with your former boss, with whenever it was a moment in time for you when you felt that, and how integrating fun in that whole moment helped it. And it helped you create a great memory of it, and it helped you develop as a professional due to that moment in time. So when we talk about communication, make sure you have both formal and informal. And here for formal, what I want to say is absolutely, I know you have it. Try to balance the virtual video meetings with phone calls as well, because I think in this whole new dynamic, we forgot about conference calls and phone calls, and they're important for that flexibility, for whenever people, you want them on a call, you want them on a conversation, but they're either driving or they're walking or they're doing something else where they don't have access to video communication or to internet, but they do have access to their phone. Also, what phone calls do is it helps people who need to move to think, so the kinesthetic thinkers and communicators. Because how many times are you on the phone and you move up and down the room and talking to somebody, and then you get maybe one of your next best ideas, maybe a different kind of perspective. So revive that. For informal, you really have the whole world at your feet, and you can still do your lunches and coffees and parties. You just need to do them virtually. Make sure that you have some kind of group chat or phone calls or sharing space where people can share stuff that is not necessarily related to work, but because they share it, what this helps with is it helps them feel less isolated. It helps them create the connections that they need to be able to feel like they're part of a team. So do that. And also what you can do is you can work together in virtual working session. It's like you used to share an office space before. Now you can share the space virtually. And you don't just talk and look at each other. You can work on your own thing, but you just know that people are there working with you. And especially when you have a deadline that you have to meet and you're working on a project, you can do that working together. And what happens is if I have a question, I can ask it immediately and I can get a response immediately. I can ask, hey, where's that document that we were working on last week? Where did we save it? And you're gonna answer immediately. I don't have to text you. I don't have to email you. We are not wasting any more time with communication, and we're actually more productive. So try doing that, and that depends. Again, this really depends on your kind of team, your kind of organization, your kind of business. These are just some ideas that you can start with. I'm happy to chat more if you need more ideas or if you need to create different kinds of activities or if you have different goals. Now, we are going to be maybe 5 minutes late today, but I think this is super important also for you as a team leader, team manager, and also for your team members. As much as we understand how we work and how we make our best contribution and impact, that's awesome, because that's what keeps us motivated and engaged, and that's what helps us feel included. And I wanted to start with this: the simple act of paying positive attention to people has a great deal to do with productivity. This is why I'm saying people challenges are business challenges, because everything that we do, that's going to take time. And we talked about time management yesterday. So again, talk about um, not to do lists, and all of that kind of stuff. That all goes well, but we now know that we all have different perceptions of on time from one individual to another. So that affects our productivity as well. Everything that people do affects your productivity as a team, as an organization, as a business, right? Everything. And this is why time really is money. And I come from an environment where really time was money, working with lawyers because they charge by the hour. And like, but everything we do really means productivity, has some kind of connection with productivity. So the more we know about how we do things and how we make an impact, the better it is. And I'm going to put here for you, these are some questions that you can take away from today and ask yourselves as the team leader, as a team manager, and also you can do this in a brainstorming session with your team. I promise you, these are such strong questions for you as a team to answer together, because then everything becomes more clear. What are these team strengths? What needs to be in place for us to work most effectively? What do we value as a team? What is the team likely to pay least attention to? What might be the tensions? What might be some weaknesses that we have? And what does this team need from its leader? And who can be a leader on this team depending on the various situations that we might be facing. And there are a number of tools that you can use, and this is where assessments also come in, and they help you and the team members clarify what motivates you, what drives you, what are the natural team roles that you're taking on a team, what are your personality styles, and understand how you work together. And also how you can measure impact, the impact that the individual team members of your team are making, the impact that you are making as a leader, and what impact does your team have in the organization as a whole. And this is where I want to talk about the GC index, the game changing index, because this measures the impact. So far we were able to measure personality, experience, and expertise that people have, but we weren't able to measure the impact that people have. How can they drive change? How can they be innovative? Can they drive improvement? Can they plan for success and answer all of these important questions when it comes to making people decisions? So this is what the GC index measures, and I'm gonna talk about it because it's helped me a lot when I work with organizations, when I work with teams. I use it a lot, and because it is very easy to understand how people feel most engaged and energized, how they make their best contribution on the team, and what that means for the organization as a whole. And basically, you have, I'm not going to dive deep into it. If you want to talk about it, by the way, I will. I also have the a link where you can book a meeting and we can talk about it more. Um, and it's included in the resources. So check the link and get the resources for today. And I'm happy to talk to you about it. But basically, it has the 5 key proclivities: the game changer, people who transform the future; the strategist, people who map the future, who plan it and prioritize; the implementer, people who build the future; the polishers, those who create a future to be proud of; and the playmakers. So they're the ones who orchestrate the future, who are able to spot talent and help people work well together. And it has a scale from 1 to 10. So you have 100,000 possible combinations. So it does not, I like it because it does not put a label on people. So for instance, in this case, you have an individual profile of somebody who is a game changer, mainly supported by strategists. So they're able to come up with new ideas, different ways of doing things, think creatively, and they're also able to strategize and plan. So that is one possible conversation here. And then the leadership style and the collaboration style and the teamwork style are going to be based on all of these proclivities. What it does when you talk about teams is that it shows you a full profile of the team, and it's an aggregate of the team. And you can see, for instance, in this example, you have a team who is mainly focused on implementing things, so high implementation score, and they're also good at coming up with creative new ideas and ways of doing things. What they're not very strong at is the strategic side of that. So if you're thinking of bringing more people on the team, or if you're thinking of bringing a leader that is a great fit for the team, that might be somebody who has more strategic inclination and strategic energy, so that they can actually help this team prioritize and plan for the long term. Because sometimes they might be, over flooded or overwhelmed by the bazillion ideas, new ideas and creative ways of doing things, and not able to properly plan and prioritize their implementation, and then they might suffer. What this also works for is for when you talk about engagement and motivation. I'm giving you a case study from Nike when they were using the GC index for their own team. Okay, you probably hear the fire squad too. The benefits of working from home. So back to Nike. Their maxim, their motto was, "It is our nature to innovate." Fine. Okay, perfect. That was great for people who were there on the top of the list in the idea focused part of this section, where they are game changers and strategists. And they think of something that nobody else thinks, and they envision possibilities, right? So for them, it was easy to resonate with this motto. But what do you do to help the implementers, the polishers, and the playmakers feel more engaged and feel motivated and feel included in this whole conversation? Because, hey, you know what? I'm implementing, I'm doing things. I'm hands on. I don't live in this space of coming up with ideas and strategizing. I'm um, my feet on the ground, and I help them get things done. How do you help these people feel that they're included in the conversation as well? So that's where the GC Index came and said, hey, as an implementer, so this is what your contribution, first of all, understand what your best contribution is in the organization. And as an implementer, here's the thing, you're helping them build somebody that nobody else builds. And as a polisher, you're helping them improve something that already exists and take that service or take that product to the next level. So you're helping them create a future to be proud of. And for the playmakers, it helps them understand that they accelerate possibilities and progress through relationships, and they help orchestrate the future. So this is what all of the assessments will do up to some point. But when you have an assessment that actually measures business impact in the team, in the organization, you get people to feel more aligned with your values, with your culture, with your goals, and understand how they're making their best impact. And when they understand that, they understand what they're valued for. And bottom line, at the end of the day, we all want to feel heard and understood. And how do we feel heard and understood? When we feel valued and appreciated. And when I understand what the value is that I'm bringing, that is, and how that's appreciated, that is when I feel included. There really is no discussion about motivation and engagement without people also feeling included. If I don't feel included, I don't feel appreciated. So I'm not going to feel motivated, not on a long term in any case. So that's it for now. I know this was, I could talk about that every day for a long time, but that's it for the bite-sized masterclass. Definitely click on the link, get your resources, and you also have the link to book a meeting to discuss about if you want to find out more about the GC index as well. Um, what you might also want to check out, and that's another thing for you as a manager, as a team leader, we do all of that. So we do courses and master classes and assessments and strategies in the Lead for Legacy League. So this is the global online group program for management and leadership development. And you have really flexible options of joining, but this takes you out of isolation. It also helps you with group coaching and discussions and brainstorming and networking with peers. It's a group where we bring discussions that are relevant to you. We work on your case studies and we tailor the content depending to your needs as well. You get the technical knowledge combined with the group coaching and the networking in a safe environment where people don't judge you, where people support each other and they help each other grow. So if you want to find out more about it, again, click the link, get the information, let me know, and let's chat about it. And then tomorrow, we are going to be talking about how we can manage change, and not just manage change, but also manage change slash crisis, and manage change and crisis, because there's a difference between change and crisis. And we're going to see what that is in our next session. So until then, thank you so much. Thank you for being here, and see you next time. Have a wonderful day.